We are back with Ben Grandin from the NC Cooperative Extension. He is answering all of your fall gardening questions today. Don't forget, you can text them 336-379-5775 and we will get them answered live here on air. Ben, let's start here. What are some common planting do's and don'ts?
So I think the big common do's and don'ts is really the big thing to do is to know what you're trying to grow, what soil you're using, and the proper nutrients to either amend that soil and to get those plants as happy as possible. I think a lot of don'ts come into the old, well, we've always been doing this, so I'm going to till my garden every year without really knowing what tilling is doing for it. Or I'm going to use certain kind of mulch over another kind of mulch. So there's a lot of things you should do and shouldn't do. It's really hard to pick out specific things, but those are the ones that really ring the bell. The right plant for the right place is definitely the biggest thing. If you find that right location for that particular crop, you're going to be getting off to a much better start than you would otherwise.
All right, here's a question from a viewer. Do you have to be an expert to have a garden?
No, you definitely don't have to be an expert to be a garden, but you do have to have the passion or the desire to take care of plants. The amount of knowledge really comes from years and years of experience. I always joke that a farmer that's been doing it for 40 years has really only had 40 tries at it. So we're all learning, we're all trying to understand the environment and the natural world in a little bit better way. So you definitely don't need to be an expert. And that's really why we're here to help support you anyways. We have a lot of good resources here at Cooperative Extension on how to plant, what crops do best here, certain varieties for different plantings. And then we also cover a lot of the disease and insect problems and any kind of cultural controls you might need to be able to take care of those problems.
You got to have a lot of patience as well too, right?
hmm Patience is definitely important. Things grow at their own rate. You can't necessarily speed that up to fit that target window, but it's a lot of fun getting out there, taking time to relax, and getting your fingers dirty is always a wonderful thing.
All right. Someone said here, let's see, losing my train. Okay, what do you recommend for insect and pest control for the garden?
I think the big thing with insect and pest control is understanding what those insects look like and being able to properly identify the problem. If you don't know what the problem is, it's really hard to blindly give a solution. But if you know you're dealing with a specific pest, say aphids, then we can recommend something that's going to fit for that crop and that pest at the same time. There's lots of different chemistries out there for controlling insects, and there's a lot of organic ways of doing things as well. But knowing the true identity of the pest really puts you at that edge to be able to control that properly and for the least amount of cost.
Okay, someone said here, how do you get rid of creeping Charlie?
If I knew how to get rid of Creeping Charlie, I'd probably be doing a lot better now. I think Creeping Charlie is one of those that does take over naturally. I think utilizing some proper chemistry, dealing with things that might be more selective. So there are chemicals that you can spray onto a grass or a lawn that'll only kill broadleaf weeds, such as Creeping Charlie. So that might be an avenue. But I always do encourage, getting that lawn as healthy as possible. That'll thicken up those plant leaf blades and really be able to choke out a lot of those weeds that get into that yard. Having proper sunlight, proper conditions is important, proper watering. So there's a lot of things that we can do to culturally correct the situation to make it reduce the friendliness to that creeping Charlie in the yard. But it is a problem throughout the entire area.
Okay, another question from a viewer. Do strawberries come back every year?
So strawberries are naturally perennial for this area. They do overwinter here. Commercially, we grow them as annuals, and that's strictly because of profitability. We're able to generate a little bit more income. We're able to get a little bit higher harvest levels from that first year growth. So commercially, we do treat them as annuals. If you have a raised bed with strawberry plants in them, they will overwinter and they will produce for a number of years, even though they might not produce quite as much as a commercial system would.
All right, we probably have about 30 seconds here. If I put chopped leaves on my garden beds this fall, will they be broken down enough to plant in the next spring?
Yes. The key to that is chopped. If you put whole leaves down, they're going to stay intact. But if you chop them up, that way they'll start degrading and they'll enrich the soil and provide a lot of nutrients for that next year's crop.
All right, we'll take a pause right here. Remember, you can get all of your questions answered. All you have to do is text the number right here at the bottom of your right-hand screen. We'll be right back.